This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been struggling lately? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, difficulty with the relationship, or just suffering from self doubt. Now, y'all know there's no shame in my game, and life has been lifing lately. Trying to manage the priorities of being a wife, mom, friend, and full time entrepreneur, it can get overwhelming. If this sounds like you, then BetterHelp wants to help you today. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to a therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There are over 20,000 therapists in BetterHelp's network, which gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. How cool is that? Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced therapist from BetterHelp. There's a special offer to the Slaying Self Doubt podcast listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slang. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/slang, SLAYING. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. Y'all, we are back another week. I don't know about you guys, but last week, I thought I did a really good job for just coming back off of 2 months of not podcasting. And for those of you all who did not listen to last week, you probably want to listen to last week because they're all connected. This week we're talking about this whole month we're talking about ways to slay your self-doubt, 4 ways specifically. And last week we talked about surrendering to the journey. This week we're talking about something different, so I'm going to tell you off the break, go ahead and listen to last week, stop right here, go back, listen, and then share that one so that it'll all make sense. Either way, it's going to make sense, but it'll all tie together if you listen to them in order. As always, y'all, welcome to the new Slayers who are joining our movement. I see y'all out here, okay, whether it is on through the podcast or on YouTube. If y'all are not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe to the Slaying Self-Doubt YouTube channel. But however you found us, thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate you being here. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We are trying to reach 100,000 downloads this year, guys. So I need y'all to share with at least 10 people. I know a couple of episodes ago I had said 20, and I'm pretty sure you can find 20 people, but I'm a bring it down. If you can't find 20 people to share it with, go ahead and share it with 20 people. But if not, share it with 10 people, share it on your social, all of that stuff so that we can hit our mark this year. This conversation this month is important to me for several reasons. One, because it's what I do, right? It is literally slaying self-doubt. These are the steps that I take, not only for myself, but I walk my clients through as well. And so I'm always to be able to teach this, to be able to give you a snippet into what I do always makes me proud. But it's also a reminder to me that there are things that sometimes that I don't be slaying for real, right? I be out here, but I don't necessarily be slaying because of my fear, my insecurity, whatever the case may be. I just don't be doing it. But this week, guys, I'm so proud of myself because I have been sitting on something for 2 years. So 2 years. Okay. And let me tell you how I know it was 2 years. So if you guys have Google, they have this little task. Sometimes it's on the side of your if you're in your drive, if you're in your emails, whatever, it's on the right side. And there's a little circle with a check next to it. And those are tasks, right? And so I allegedly was not alleged because I have proof that I did it, but I apparently um created a task for myself. And when I finally looked at it a couple of weeks ago, it said I had created this thing 120 weeks ago. Okay, so maybe that was over 2 years. So 120 weeks ago, I had created this task for myself to launch this eGuide, right? Now, let me start by saying that I actually did it the first time around, but the way I did it was real like sneakily. Like I just posted it one day, it was like boom, there it is, right? Like, we talk about I have these different conversations with people. We talk about when we're being obedient, but it's like a way we being obedient, so we can say, "Look, God, I did it." Like you can't come after me anymore because I did what you said you were going to do. I said I was going to do, right? Versus like being intentional about whatever that thing is, right, and being vocal about it and sharing it and telling people and all of those different things. And so the very first time, my fear was so oh my gosh, it was so bad for several reasons. One, because I didn't feel qualified, to be honest. I did not feel qualified. I didn't feel qualified this time around, but I'm gonna tell you what prompted me to just go, right? But 120 weeks ago, 20 plus weeks ago, I definitely didn't feel qualified because I felt like I was new. I felt like I had just started. I felt like I didn't have anything to offer. I felt like who was going to even take advice from me in this area because it personally how I felt was that like I had not reached what I saw other people doing, right? I had not reached a pinnacle. Um I wasn't an expert in it. Like it just was it for me, it just did not make any sense, right? So from the time that I sneakily posted this thing and just was kind of like putting it out there, like, oh yeah, I got this, whatever have you. Throughout that time, I did a beta group. So if you don't know what a beta group is that if you have a product or something or service, you get people together and you practice on them basically to see if it works, get feedback, all that stuff. I had a beta group. It went well. Throughout those 120 weeks, I actually coached and gave advice on at least a dozen people who, after the information that I gave them, actually acted on it and are currently doing the thing, right? And I still to this day have people asking me the same question. And so when it came back up, and I'm gonna say it came back up, it kept coming back up. But for me, I kept saying, Lord, like this ain't what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, what do you like? This can't be what I'm supposed to be doing. Like that was literally my words to him, right? And I kept fighting it. Like, I just don't think that this is it. Whatever happens, like I told y'all, my conversations with him be real, right? And so fast forward to 120 something weeks later, right? And when it finally came back up, it was like, I don't want to do this. And remember a couple of weeks ago when last week, maybe I probably shared it on my social media about how God sends you confirmations. And so that week I was talking to my therapist and she was like, okay, Jonah, running away from what God called you to do. Yeah. Okay. So that was my boom. You better do what you need to do because clearly this is not making any sense. Anyway, and so finally I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do it. And I said this before that I from that Jonah series that my church did at Zion Church, and I'll put the link in the show notes. Um, he said, trust trust God with the consequences of your obedience, right? And that was the issue that I was having. Like it was like because I didn't feel like I knew enough, because I didn't feel like I was worthy, because I didn't feel like I didn't have all the things. It was like him telling me to do this thing just did not make any sense. Like, dude, you don't see that I'm like low on the totem pole? You don't see that? Like, what? Who am I? Right? This whole y'all, this is why I tell y'all self-doubt is a real thing for me. When I tell you I am showing up in it, I am, right? Um, but I kept saying, like, what are you talking about? And so that one message, it just resonated with me for days, right? And it was really just like Just trust God with the consequences. Then I listened to a sermon at Elevation Church, and they used my favorite passage, which is Judges 6:14, which is go with the strength you have. I'm sending you. And so those two things together was really like, listen, trust God with the consequences and go with what you have. Like, don't worry about the rest. And so I don't know, this ain't even my message for today, y'all. This was really an announcement, but I don't know who this is for. But don't worry about the consequences. Go with what you have. Go with the strength that you have. He's not asking you for anything extra. He is not telling you that you have to be perfect. He is not saying that he needs all your ducks in a row and all your T's crossed and your eyes dotted. He's saying go with what you have. You do not have to be at perfect weight before you start teaching a fitness class. You do not have to have $100,000 in the bank before you start teaching that business class. You do not have to have a New York bestseller to start writing a book or start telling people how to write and publish a book. You do not have to have all these things that you need to have to start. Just go. Go with what you have and do your assignment, right? And as scary as it is, as simple as it sounds, it is difficult. And so I told myself one day last week, I was like, you're going to sit down and you are not getting up from this seat until you have completed everything that needs to be done for this thing. Because one thing's for certain, two things for sure. She going to talk herself. If you're not watching me on YouTube, she is me. She is going to talk herself out of anything. And so if I can talk myself out of it, I can talk myself into it. And that's what I did. I said, we're not finished. It is not done until it's done. It is not done until it's on this website. It is not done until it's up. It is not done until all the things that need to be done are completed. So with that being said, the announcement is that I have republished my Using the Power of Your Voice eGuide. And this is specifically for people who God has been telling you it's time for you to start a podcast. It's time for you to start using your voice. And you have been listening to me, listening to other people saying, oh, this ain't so simple. Oh, I wish I had the courage that they had to do that. Or you are saying, like, God is asking me to do this, but I don't know. I don't know why he asked me to do this. I feel like I'm doing enough. I don't know what else I need to say. There are billions of podcasts out here. What difference does it make that I am using my voice? It makes a difference because he's calling you, right? And if you've been listening to me since the beginning of this journey, I have always said, I have no idea why. I have no idea why he told me to do this. I have no idea why the very first thing he wanted me to do underneath Slaying Self Doubt, the name was to start a podcast. And it's just hitting me that this is the reason why. The person who had no idea but was just being obedient, who didn't know what she was doing, who was YouTube universitying it up, Google universitying it up, was able to create a successful podcast. You know why I'm successful, y'all? See, then I hate to hype myself up, okay? I am successful because there is a statistic that says most podcasts don't make it past episode 35. You are listening to episode 245. Do you hear me? 245 episodes, 4 years of podcasting in over 50 countries. And we about to hit 64,000 downloads this week. I'm confident of that. As I'm recording this, we're going to hit that number. Do I still think that I have everything that I need? Do I still think I am a subject matter expert? I don't, because I felt like, well, Lord, when I hit 100,000, that's when I'm a do it. Because we give God all these stipulations, and that's not what we're doing. So this is a two-parter. I'm telling you that if you've been listening to me and you know that this is your thing, that you know that you're supposed to start a podcast, but your fear, your insecurity, your self-doubt is stopping you, get the eGuide. Okay. And with the eGuide, if that is not enough, there's an option for you to book a strategy session with me and for us to go through it and for me to get you to record and launch in 30 days. Y'all, I'm telling you, the thing that's holding us back is not the equipment. It is not the software. It is us. And this is my job. I am the person who told you I recorded my first episode in July. I did not publish until March of the following year. Not because I didn't have everything, because clearly I recorded. It was because of the fear and the self doubt. And so he is giving me the tools to be able to help you. So I'm done with that announcement and that message. But for whoever it is, go ahead. The link is in the show notes. It is on my website. It is on the bio on social media. You can find it on my website at slayingselfdoubt.com. And go ahead and let's get started. Let's trust God with our consequences and go with the strength that we have. Period. Now, moving on. And sometimes, in doing the stuff, like I tell people often, most of the time the podcasts are planned. There's things that I'm saying, it's things that I know. I write stuff down. But other times, like God, He gave me this platform to be honest and to be transparent and to show y'all the struggles that I'm going through. Like I said, if you've been on this journey with me, you know. So this makes sense that I would be the person who would teach you how to start a podcast in the midst of your fear and insecurity, because I'm doing it every single day, right? Period. Anyway, so last week we talked about surrendering to the journey. And remember, all this month we're giving you four tips on how to slay your self-doubt, right? And so last week we talked about surrender to the journey. I used the analogy of floating, and just releasing your body to the water and allowing the water to carry you. That is what it looks like. I told you that if you truly are going to surrender, you need to take your hand off the wheel. Don't use your knee to keep driving, but take your hand off and let God guide you. Not in a car, for real. Do not do that. But figuratively, when we're talking about giving God, surrendering to Him, that is what we need to do. So today we are going to talk about loyalty to the process, right? And you can't have loyalty to the process without trust. Trust is like, it literally has to be trust in order for there to be loyalty. You think about relationships. You don't immediately become loyal to somebody, right? It's after building a foundation. It's after building a relationship, and you start to see how that person move and the things that they doing, and then you be like, yeah, I'm loyal to them. But off the break, I don't know you and you don't know me, right? So there are steps to reach that loyalty to the process. And I want to break this down for you. So first things first, I'm gonna use some scripture. Okay. And it says, so we're gonna talk about, it's Proverbs 3:5-8. I'm gonna read the easy version, which says, trust in the Lord completely. Do not think you understand things well enough for yourself. Whatever you're doing, remember that the Lord is with you. Then He will show you the right way to go. Do not think that you are already wise enough. Obey the Lord and refuse to do evil things. If you do that, it will make you healthy and strong. Now, I know that we be thinking we know everything. I know that we think we have everything under control, and that, oh, don't nobody need to tell us nothing. Last week we talked about this illusion of control that we have, right? That we think we like, can't nobody tell us nothing. So I want to read a different version of that. So this is in the Message Bible. It says, trust God from the bottom of your heart. Do not try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do, everywhere you go. He is the one who will keep you on track. Don't assume that you know it all. Run to God, run from evil. This whole thing, in order for us to trust God completely, right? The normal version that we hear is like, trust God with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding, right? I wanted to use the easier version, and I told you I always use different versions, because it, to me, it'd be like, listen, it clearly says, don't assume you know it all. Listen for God's voice in everything you do and everywhere you go. Those are clear instructions, right? And sometimes the problem is when when we get into something and God gives us this assignment, let's just use the example of me um re republishing this guide, right? Um there had to be some trust and some loyalty that went into that, right? There had to be some trust. In order for me to be loyal to the process, I had to trust before I could be like, I'm gonna just put my hands up and do whatever it is, right? And so I wanted to read this definition of what Merriam-Webster says loyalty is. Loyalty implies a faithfulness that is steadfast in the face of any temptation to renounce, desert, or betray. It implies a faithfulness that is steadfast in the face of any temptation. You know what that means? Like, this is like, okay, in regular terms, this one we be like, oh, that's my ride or die. Like, whatever, this the person that you call and you be like, pull up, they on their way, right? This is like when we talk about somebody being loyal, oh, I guarantee you, I'll be like, who's the loyal person in your life? Who is the person that you trust more than you probably trust yourself, right? I guarantee you, everybody can pick a person that they are loyal to, or you can, and someone can say that about you, right? Like, it's easy when you see the person in front of you, right? Because you can think about instances where like some stuff went down and you was like, you know what? They showed up. You know what? They was there. You know what? This is the reason why. And on the flip side, you could think of some people who are disloyal, right? You could think of some people that you was like, I see you, right? Believe you the first time. I watch how you move. I see what you. Oh, I see how you handled her. You'll never be able to handle me like that, right? These are things that we do in the flesh, right? But when we're talking about doing our assignment and doing the thing and our purpose and the thing that God has called us to do, we have to build trust with him. And it goes both ways, right? And I believe that I've talked about this before, but we're going to do it again. All right. So, how do you become loyal to the process? It starts with trusting God. And I'm going to break down trust in three different levels: consistency, reliability, and faith. Okay. And I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm not going to, I don't want to get too much in your business. But if any of it relates to you, make sure you let me know. Okay. Consistency. Consistency refers to God's ability to follow through on commitments and promises. That is running his track record. We talk about that all the time on here, right? When you get caught up and you try and figure out, should I do this? Should I do that? You got to run his track record. So using this example of the using your guide, using the power of your voice eGuide, right? If I think about God's consistency in my life, specifically to podcasting, right? It's the first thing that he gave me. He has consistently shown me that people listen. He has consistently given me things, ideas, right? And goals that I've been able to attain. He has consistently put people on my path that continue to show me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. 4 years. I could have been giving up, right? When I started this thing, I was like, I said, I don't know why I'm doing a podcast. I guess I'm about like what I'm supposed to talk about. I'm just gonna talk about my life. Okay, sure, fine, right? And in the very beginning, y'all, what did we talk about? My day to day life, my week. Oh, this is how I was feeling this week. Oh God, God told me to leave my job. We kind of went through that whole little thing for the first half of the year or whatever. Y'all watch me go through that. Why? I don't know. I just was doing what he said, right? Every week I had to come back and be transparent. Every week I had to come back and say I was struggling. Then the we went through that whole phase and there was ups and downs, hills and valleys, all of the whatever the word is that you use, the examples and all of that stuff. Then we hit the pandemic, right? And I was recorded during the pandemic. It was freeing for me. It was therapeutic for me, but people were still listening in a time where people were hey, they could have done anything else, right? God could continue to still use me during that time to share in the moments that was when we had the social and racial unrest, right? When things were going on in our area, when people were afraid, when people were scared. He then gave me the idea to use my platform to be able to help people in a different type of way, right? Like it started with the podcast, but then my voice, right? Because I had built trust with y'all, my voice then became like, okay, let's do these lives on Instagram. Let's get our voices out here to be able to talk to people, right? But had he not been consistent in what he guided me on, like I didn't know the plan. I didn't know what the purpose of it was for. But now in running his track record, I can see that it started when he said back in February of 2019, right? I mean, no, February of 2020, when my mentor friend said, God didn't tell you to leave your job to go do this. Go focus on the podcast. And I kept saying to myself, what the podcast got to do with this? What do we have to do with this? I have no idea, right? But I went home, I sat down, I got my notebook. I said, well, what you want me to do? This literally, this literally how I would say, like, what you want me to do? And then he was like, I want you to interview people. And I'm like, dude, sir, first of all, who? Who do you want me to interview? Like, I have no idea who. Uh, Talking about what? What do you want them to talk about, right? So I started this thing, and then I was just like, I'm gonna ask some people I know, then I'm gonna just see if some other people want to come share. I don't know, right? But it was building that trust. And now what do we have? Over 100 women who have come on here to share their journey. I did not think of that by myself. But guess what I did? I surrendered to the process. I mean, I surrendered to the journey. And I have become loyal to the process. Become loyal to the process. I wasn't at first. I was out here like, what we talking about, Willis? I don't get what you're talking about, right? But I have become loyal to the process that now I look forward to those things. I want to be here. I want to be in community with you all and talking to y'all, right? So the first thing, consistency, refers to God's ability to follow through on commitments and promises. You can run his track record in your life and see when has God shown up? When has he followed through on the commitments and the promises that he made you? I guarantee you it's there. Okay. Second one, reliability. Reliability means that God can be counted on to deliver on his promises, even in challenging circumstances. And I would say, especially in challenging circumstances, right? Because it's cool for people to show up when everything is copacetic, right? It's cool for you to be there for me when everything going right because it just kind of go with the flow. But when stuff is wrong, when things are in disarray, when I am in a storm, right? Who can I trust? Who can I trust to be there? Who is reliable in your own life? The question I would have to you is like, do you believe that God is reliable? Like, okay, so let's go backward. Consistent. Do you believe that God is consistent? Second question, do you believe that God is reliable? Do you feel like that in your life, he has been reliable on the things and the times that you have needed? I always say this thing, in running God's track record, sometimes we forget, we forget the times that we said, two different things. The first thing is, Lord, I promise if you ever get me out of this, I never do it again. And he got you out. Not once, not twice, not three times, maybe seven, maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe 35, maybe 77. I don't know, right? Because I don't know how many times you prayed that prayer. Lord, if you get me home, I promise I'll never drink again. My very first episode on here was a conversation I had with myself driving down a street in this area after I had been to the club. And I told y'all that I was like, Lord, if you get me home, I promise I'll never drink like this again. And yet, still the next weekend, right? And so, when I think about that, I can stand here and say, God has been reliable in us. The fact that He got me home, right? And then because I trust His reliability that He's going to get me out, guess what? Let's be honest, we use it to our advantage and be like, well, He gonna get me out anyway, so I'm gonna just go ahead. And the Lord, I trust that the Lord's gonna get me home, so I'm gonna just go ahead I'm just gonna go ahead and keep the party going, right? That's what we do, whether you say it or not. That's the thing. You do trust God to get you out of those situations, right? When you are in when you are in a space where you don't know what to do, right? I say there's two different ways. The other, that's that one time, promise you, if I'll never do that again. And then the second time is when you are in your storm, right? When you are in your storm and you are praying, pleading with Him to find a solution, whether it's you don't have no money and you need to get your rent paid, whether it's again, using myself, whether it's your car is repossessed and you're figuring out how you're going to pay these bills and also take care of yourself or your kids, or you are in a relationship that you feel like you need to remove yourself from, but you don't because the heart was what it wants, right? Or you're in a situation where you're not sure what your next move is supposed to be and you feel stuck, right? If I just listed off four things in my own life of my 42 years of being here, clearly there are some things I can say I kept asking Him something because He got me out the last thing. So I trust that He'll give me out the next thing, right? So then He's reliable, like because I count on Him. It may not happen when I want it to happen, and it may not happen the way I want it to happen, but I can always look back and be like, God got me out of that. I can't even tell you how it happened, but God showed up. So do you think that God is reliable? You have to answer that for yourself. And then the last one is faith. Faith involves a belief in God's overall competency, integrity, and character. That means, do you trust Him? Do you trust Him? And I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes, right? Even after I explained all of that, even after I say, oh, I know He consistent. Okay, because I've seen that. Reliability. Yes, He is reliable. But faith, trusting Him. Do I trust Him completely? Sometimes. You know why? Sometimes because I want what I want, and I want what I want without having to give up other stuff. I want what I want without having to hurt. I want what I want without having to sacrifice anything. And so fully trusting and having full faith in God means that I would be loyal, which implies faithfulness that is steadfast in the face of any temptation, which means that anything that comes my way, if I truly trusted Him, the things that would tempt me, the things that cause me to be like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not, those things that cause you to question or to take a second, like, you know what? Maybe let me think about it. I'm not, those things, there's still some things, if we're all being honest here, that we struggle with, right? And so the loyalty to the process means that we have to be fully trusting of God, fully trusting of Him without a shadow of a doubt, because temptation will come. Things will come up that will try to destroy us. Things will come up that will try to throw us off our game. Things will come up that will try to confuse us. And I'm not always talking about people, right? I'm not always talking about, oh man, somebody gonna come and they gonna try. No, 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 no. Sometimes it's you. Let me give you something very practical. Okay. I just talked about this yesterday in my Bible study. But my health, we have been having this conversation over and over again that I know that there are things that I need to do for my health, right? Some things I'm doing really good at, other things, meh, right? But why don't I do it? That's the question. I'm like, why aren't I just saying, you know what, this takes priority. I'm just removing these things from my diet. I'm going to put these things in place. I'm going to start doing these habits or whatever. It's comfortability. It's comfortability. And it's also that if I do that thing to completion, what if God wants to use me some more? And I'd rather be like, not this year. Right? Like I don't want to you seen the memes that's going around. It's like calling God to see if I'm on his strong list. I'm trying to live my soft life. Like sometimes we self sabotage because we know that if God calls us to do something, we feel like this gonna count me out. Because if I ain't got this together, then he ain't going to. But that also means you're self sabotaging your blessings, right? So it's not always other people coming in, other instances, other substances, stuff coming in and trying to tempt you or distract you. Sometimes it's you. But in order for you to know that that is true, you have to be honest with yourself. I can honestly say that, yeah, I don't always trust him, not in a way that he's not going to do what he say he going to do, but more so because fully trusting him requires me to release control, the illusion of control. Fully trusting him requires me to surrender. Fully trusting him requires me to mind my bald headed black business, right? But we want to keep putting our hand on it. We want to keep, well, Lord, let me just take this. Okay, God, I know you got it, but this is us, right? We got one side. You want him to have the, okay, I'm gonna give you a little here, you can have this much. But how is that hindering us from what it is he has for us? Because if you still got your hands on it, he can't do what he needs to do. It's just like being, they always say, can't be two chefs in the kitchen, right? Because somebody looking like, I know, add a little bit of this, add a little bit of that, right? But then who takes the credit in the end? We going to say we both did it? If that's going to be you, guess what? Guess what ends up happening? Somebody ends up being like, you got it. See, if you don't need me, he gonna be like, you got it. Go ahead. That's if that's what you want to do. You want the accolades. You want the validation to say, oh, I did this. Oh, I did this on my. You got it, but you get what come with it. You can't then come back to me and be like, Lord, can't you please? Nah, Slim, I tried. But guess what? You was out here like, nah, I got this. You was out here still driving with your knee. You was out here saying, I'ma trust you partially. And all I'm saying is that we're all trying to do the same thing, right? We really want to see the fullness of God in our lives. And the only way that is going to happen is that you have to trust him. And in order to do that, you have to do these things. And in order for you to be loyal to his process and the things that he's going to carry you through, you have to build that strong foundation with him. All three of these things is the foundation to loyalty. I said earlier, you don't just be out here being loyal to just anybody, right? You there is a process. Like I don't meet nobody and just immediately they my friend. And people who do that to me are weird. Like you're not my friend. I know her. I know of her. That's an associate. We're cordial. That's why those that's why those relationships, those things, those exist. In order for me to say you my friend, you gotta be like I gotta know how you move. I gotta know how, if we are in alignment, I gotta know that I agree with how you are portraying yourself and how you live your life and all those different things. That means I gotta get to know you. That means I have to be in close enough proximity to you to see if you're consistent, to see if you're reliable. to see if I can trust you. So then that goes back to you have to have your own personal relationship. Your loyalty can't be because your mother or your grandmother pray for you. Your loyalty can't be because your husband pray for you or your wife pray for you or your mother pray for you or your sister or your uncle or your auntie or whoever. It can't be because, oh yeah, I got a relationship with God because of this other person. No, it has to be you and him, and the closeness of your proximity will determine how much you trust him. And it fluctuates. It will fluctuate over the time of the relationship, not because of him, but because of us. Right. And so this is a encouragement to you, an encouragement to me to get closer to God, get closer with him so that you can fully trust him. Because what he has for us, it's already planned. We already talked about this. Like it's written. He knows the plans he has for us. It's not to destroy us. It is for us to prosper. So if he already knows because he wrote it and he designed it, why wouldn't we trust him? It's a great question. I don't know. Well, I do know. I say it's control. It's the illusion. It's feel like we're giving up something. Maybe that's just me. I'm not gonna say y'all, but me. I feel like I'm giving up something, even though I've had moments in my life, times in like big chunks of times in my life where I have fully been loyal to the process. So I know it works. I know it works, but it's scary. I know that, let me tell you when you're usually loyal to the process. You are usually loyal to the process when you have tried everything that you can and you feel like nothing else is working. Then you be like, Lord, you got it. Now this amateur chef has left the kitchen, right? Like, Lord, you got it. You know what I'm saying? If you was in the kitchen with Gordon Ramsay, you think he gonna leave? I guarantee you leave before he do, right? So that's what I'm saying. Leave the kitchen. Let him do it. Trust him with the consequences, good, bad, or indifferent. He got it. He is built for it. You worry about the things that you need to worry about for yourself. Do your part, just your part. Okay. So last week we talked about surrendering to the journey. Let go. Okay. Just let go. This week, loyalty to the process starts with trusting God, right? And so the three questions I want to ask you today, and I gave you a question, one question last week, but I got three this week. So the first one is, do you truly trust God? Do you truly trust him? Are you loyal? The second question, are you loyal to the process? And the last question is, what loyalties do you need to end in order to move forward? Because there's some stuff that we are loyal to that is causing the disruption in our loyalty to him. So, what loyalties do you need to remove? Simple, you know, very simple questions, guys. Nothing major. Nothing major at all. All right, y'all. As always, thank you for rocking with me. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider making a donation by buying me a coffee. Your support will help me create new content, get a podcast studio, and reach more people, because that's what we're trying to do. If you are interested in doing some work with me and really digging deep into finding out what your fears and insecurities are and to create a plan forward, go ahead and book a connection call with me so that we can wrap it up and see whether or not what plans I had work for you. Take charge of your mental health, because y'all know Jesus and therapy, and get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp. You're going to go to betterhelp.com/slaying, SLAYING. Make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter. Y'all, I think we're going to come back for every other week or every week, because I did get some feedback about some things. On top of the fact that I thought doing it once a month would be easier, and it's actually not, because I'll be forgetting. So we'll probably go back to weekly. And then I'm able to get connected and still be, here with you guys. Please share this episode with at least 10 people. Remember, we're trying to hit 100,000 downloads this year, guys. Okay. Subscribe and share. Continue. Follow me on Instagram at Slang Self Doubt. Until next week. See ya. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.